So recently I have fallen well too deep into painting up a whole bunch of Firstborn Retro Ultramarines, and then they announced the Saturnine box set, and I thought I would have a go at turning those into some Retro Ultramarines and see how they turned out. Now I know this has been a divisive box set online, some people like it, some people don't like it, but I quite like it and I figured I could do a little bit of something with it. Now I haven't done the whole bunch of them with this because there's a lot of plastic in this box set, but I thought I would give it a go and do a few of the Marines and paint them up, and also one of the Saturnine Terminators and see how that turned up with the retro styling. As well as the Marines that come in a box, I thought I would also give them the real Ultramarine treatment and print off a few helmets and a few shoulder pads as well. So I got those printed off on my Haygears Reflex RS and then started assembling. Now, these models go together quite nicely. The Marines especially go together really nicely. The Terminators take a lot more playing with. There's a lot of parts. They are really posable. So one advantage of them is you can pose them however you like. I went with a bog standard boring Terminator pose, but that's because that is reminiscent of those Firstborn Terminators, those original sculpts where they've basically got a bolter like that and a fist. And I figured I'd try and replicate that. I quite liked the way it turned out. So I glued them all together, I stuck on some of those Ultramarine parts, and then it was over to the painting process. And for this, it's really simple. People always ask me what my blue recipe is and how I do all like the yellows and everything, and actually it's really simple. First bit is prime more black. I just like priming black, I think it works very nicely. And then hit them all with some Army Painter Air Ultramarine. And this Ultramarine blue is absolutely lovely. It's very close to like the original Ultramarine colour scheme that my dad used to paint in, but also that used to be on all like the box art and stuff like that for those original like Ultramarines that you got back in the day. Once you've done that, it's over to the painting table, and this is where I have changed things a little bit. So previously I used to use a whole mismatch of like paints, but historically I've only really got lots of contrast paints and speed paints. I don't have many acrylics, so I thought I would do something a little bit different and picked up... Where's it gone? There it is. The Pro Acryl like starter set. So this comes with a whole bunch of different paints in here. And I'd heard some really good things. So I was torn between getting these and also the Army Painter Fanatic paints. And the one thing that drew me to these was they're meant to be quite vibrant. The Army Painter ones are meant to have really good coverage, but not be quite as vibrant. So I thought I'd give this a go. So the main colours I use from it, aside from like the blacks and the whites and everything, the first one is this bold Pyrrole red. This is a lovely red. Again, very close to those like nostalgic reds. Was it like just original blood red that you used to get from Games Workshop? It's a lovely, bright, vibrant red once it goes down. And then this yellow, so golden yellow as well. Now, all of the colours that come with the Pro Acryl stuff have really good coverage. Like their white goes down beautifully. It's really easy to use. You can pretty much get away with just one coat of the white, which is kind of mind-blowing. Their black is exactly the same. It's a lovely coverage. The red goes down really nicely as well. The yellow, however, I do need to say, this is not that great when it comes to coverage. It takes about 2 or 3 coats to get it on there. So bear in mind this is going down over a blue, so it is going to take a little bit more, but it is kind of frustrating. You do need to use quite a few coats of this. So about 2 or 3, but once it's done, you get a really nice, bright, vibrant yellow. Again, similar to that old box art that you used to get back in the day. So I get all of like my base colours down, so I said the reds, the yellows, the blues, and another secret weapon that I found, and this is the one paint that everybody should go out and try, is this Model Metallic Air Vallejo like silver. It's the Model Metallic Air by Vallejo. It's their steel. This is the best metallic paint I have ever used. I don't like using metallics. They tend to have poor coverage. They're just frustrating to use. This, it basically goes down in one coat, and I can thin it down as well. I always put this onto my wet palette. I thin it down to about 50-50 mix of water and this. It just, I don't know, just go out and try it. It's amazing. It is such good coverage. It's really nice to work with. It's just an amazing paint. And even though it's the air one, it still works perfectly fine just with a brush. So once I've got all of my base coats down, I go back in there with some Nuln Oil, and I just try to be a little bit more careful with where I'm putting this. Don't slosh it all over the model. Try to put it into like leg crevices and just any gaps in the armor and everything else. Then I let that dry and I go back in there with the base colour. Now, the only colour that I really tidy up is the Ultramarine Blue. I go back in there on like all the armour panels and stuff like that. Make sure I lighten it all back up. Anywhere I've got any pooling from that oil, Anyway, I just want it to be a bit brighter. I get that ultramarine blue on there, and it does quite a nice job of bringing back the vibrancy of the blue to try to get it back to that retro look. So I always go for like a really dark line because I want a nice separation, and again, getting that retro nostalgic bit back. So when I do like the shoulder guards, for example, I'll go for a really heavy dark line between like the yellow trim and then the blue as well. So again, you need to go back in with some ultramarine blue just to tidy it up. And if you do spill onto the yellow, you'll need to just tidy that up as well. Once that is done, I then go back in there with a varnish. Now in my previous video when I was talking about my ultramarines, I went in with a gloss varnish because that's what my dad used to do in the day, and I wanted to replicate that. But it did look too shiny and I wasn't massively happy with it. I now use the Army Painter satin varnish through an airbrush, and I pretty much use this for all of my models now, and it looks especially good on these Ultramarines as well. It still gives them a nice shiny look, but without them looking over the top shiny and glossy and wet. It's a lovely look. I really like it. I prefer it to the gloss. Let me know in the comments if you do as well, but I definitely prefer it. Varnish them all up, and then I go on to do the bases, which is basically this like ground flock by Geek Gaming Scenics. Pop that on there with some PVA. Rim the bases with green, because obviously we want to go for green, not black, because we're trying to get that retro look, and they are basically done. So if you do want to highlight them, and I don't always highlight the standard Marines purely because I'm going for that retro vibe, but if you do, I use a mix of Pro Acryl Faded Ultramarine with the Ultramarine Blue by Army Painter. I do a mix of 50-50, make sure it's thinned down, and I go back in there and I just add some highlights. On some of the Marines I've done it. So on the Saturnine Terminator I did the same. I used a lot of different layers to try and build it up. One thing you'll notice if you do work with the Pro Acryl paints is they're very, very matte. And when you first put them onto the model and you're layering up, they do stand out a lot. But once you use a satin varnish over them, it just helps to blend it all in together and takes away some of those, I guess, imperfections. They're still there because I'm not great at layering, but it does help to kind of tone it down a little bit. So that's how I got my Saturnine Marines and my Saturnine Terminator to mix with my Firstborns. If you are mixing these with your Firstborn Marines and you're going for like those original Games Workshop Space Marines, one thing to note is they're about a base in terms of height taller than a standard like Firstborn Space Marine. So I now have the dilemma of, do I bump all of my other Firstborn Space Marines up so they're the same height? And I probably need to rebase them all as well, because actually they're on the old like 25mm and need to go to the larger bases. But I'm not going to be playing competitively or even seriously with these. It's just going to be like fun narrative stuff that I play with my friends. So it doesn't bother me too much. But if you are the kind of person who wants to be able to use these in games and that's going to be an issue, just bear in mind there is a slight height difference, about a base in terms of height. And yeah, that's how you'll need to make them fix. So yeah, just one thing to consider there. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I really like the way these have turned out. I think they are a lovely go-between between those Firstborns and also like the Primaris bits. Some people love Primaris, some people don't like Primaris. I'm impartial to them. I'm not massively a fan of them. I prefer all the original sculpts. These Saturnine ones come quite close to those original ones, but with like a rescaled proportion. And once you throw on things like those Ultramarine like helmets and you mix all the different armor bits, I really, really like them. I think these look fantastic. I've got another 30 of them to paint, and I've got a lot more Terminators and a Dreadnought as well. So let me know in the comments, do you want me to do that video next, or do you want me to go on to showing off the rest of my Firstborn stuff that I've also been working on? Let me know your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and stay safe. Ta-ra for now.